Having tempted you with the allure of the Caribbean islands as a possible vacation, I am now talking to you about the nitty-gritty of getting ready to move countries. In a recent episode, I talked to you about whether we ever feel ready, and it dawned on me that there really is some benefit to feeling ready enough. So I gave that further thought, and I've come up with my top 5 essential areas that I want to share with you, because these are the areas that we take for granted in our everyday life in our home country, and it makes sense to give them some attention before we move to our destination country so that we're really prepared. The essential area number 1 is your passport and visa. I've grouped them together because without these, you aren't going anywhere. Perhaps check whether you even need a visa. Perhaps your passport is sufficient to let you into your destination country for the purposes you intend to live there. And if not, we'll come to that when we talk about visas. But staying with your passport, make sure you have 6 months validity beyond your arrival date in your destination country. This is very important. Also, check that you have some blank pages in your passport to allow for stamps and visas. If you're acquiring your passport for the first time or you're renewing your passport, use this opportunity to check whether your home country offers different length passports. Take the one that has the most pages in it, even if it is a little bit more money. Okay, let's move to visas. So let's say for your destination country, you do need a visa. So there's some things you want to check here, because visas, whilst they have permissions, they often have constraints too. So you want to be comfortable that the boundaries or the parameters that your visa operates in serve you for your time in your destination country. Are you allowed to come in and out? So check for single entry or multiple entry. It's important because when we want to return to our home country for any reason, emergencies or otherwise, we need to then be able to re-enter the destination country we've moved to. And we might want to take advantage, as I've been sharing recently, about travelling to neighbouring countries. So for all these reasons, ideally you want a multiple entry visa. Also, does your visa allow you to do what you need to do? For example, does it allow you to work? Does it allow you to be self-employed? These are things you want to look into before you leave your home country. And also, if you're planning on being in your destination country a long time beyond the validity of your visa, what are your renewal options? So lots to think about when it comes to visas. And when it comes to planning your trip, make sure that you have physical and digital copies of your passport and visa in a safe place that you know you can retrieve if the situation arises that you need them. I'd like to point out that the next 4 essential areas come in no particular order. They're all important. But at least now with your passport and visa sorted, you know you're going. Moving to essential area number 2. This is your driving license. So on the face of it, you might be like, driving license, what do I need to worry about that for? Well, I didn't even give it some thought. So that's why I'm putting it here in the essential list. My driving license expired while I was in my first few months in America. And that was really unhelpful. So make sure while you're in your home country, while you have your home address, that you have your driving license, that it's up to date, and that it has months, if not years, on your license. That way, when you come to research what's required in your new country, you can look to see if your existing driving license is sufficient or whether you need to migrate it into a local driving license or an international driving license. Also, it's worth saying to you that a number of countries will have a time limit within which you can transfer your own driving license into a local or an international driving license. So these are really important things that you need to think about, especially if driving is part of your daily life or something that could become important to you during your time in your destination country. Essential area number 3 is travel insurance leading into medical insurance. I mention them as a connection because ideally you don't want to have a single day in your new country without medical cover. Emergency medical cover will avoid any unexpected expenses. So, to take care of all those unwanted what ifs, here's how I recommend you go about it. Look up travel insurance to get you into your country, and then be prepared and know how to establish your medical insurance so that it can literally transition from one to the other. Now, when it comes to travel insurance, you're probably very familiar with doing this because you go on holiday. So my husband discovered Insure and Go a number of years ago, and we've used it for annual cover, we've used it for single trips, and we used it as our single trip entry into America. And one of the things I like about Insure and Go is you can subscribe to a newsletter which gives really insightful tips on being prepared for the destinations you might be going to. Now, whilst they pay attention to primarily vacations, much of that advice is useful and relevant when considering a move overseas. So, now having taken care of your travel insurance, you need to look into what medical insurance is required, if required, in your destination country. If it is required, it might be that the visa is also contingent on you having your insurance in place. So you need to look into that too. In America, we have repatriation insurance, medical insurance, and dental insurance. And who knows, we might have more that I'm not present to at this point. But we are very well insured for. And this actually was a requirement of my husband's job. So that also could be a factor, that the company moving you might insist on you taking out at your own personal cost certain insurances. Okay, so moving swiftly on to essential area number 4, your phone, your new best friend. Now, your phone in your home country is probably your best friend anyway. It accompanies you everywhere and you rely on it heavily for distractions, if nothing else. But when it comes to moving countries, you're going to rely on it heavily for pretty much everything. It will be your resource for translation. It will be your resource for navigation. It will be your resource for pretty much anything. Looking up somewhere to eat, looking up somewhere to live. It literally will be like your go-to Bible. So it's really critical that you have thought ahead in how you're going to be able to use your phone. Now, it might be that you can use your existing phone from your home country with a data roaming plan. That would be simple enough. Or it might be you want to opt for a local SIM option. But then if that's the case, you need to then make sure that your phone is unlocked in order to have the international SIM. And you need to make sure in the country you're going to whether you actually need to buy a new phone for any local SIMs. So in our case, we wanted to move to a local plan. So for that, we needed to have a phone purchased in America. We could use our data roaming on our existing handsets, no problem. But if we wanted to settle into America, so to speak, and have a long-term plan, we needed to purchase a phone. Another thing to bear in mind in terms of your phone, given you need all-day access to it in your destination country because you're probably out and about a lot, then make sure you have a battery recharger and a universal adapter with you so that you have access to getting your phone recharged at any point, so it's always accessible and available to you. That will avoid any anxiety about feeling isolated or worried in that sense, because you can always have your phone to reach out. Essential area number 5. This is the final area. And this is about your bank account. Now, when you travel overseas, as you do, you probably use a credit card, or you probably use your own bank account and incur minor foreign transaction fees. Find out how this will differ for you when you've moved overseas. Perhaps these situations will still be the same. But you could also look into getting a credit card that doesn't charge any foreign transaction fees. You can also look into certain types of cards like Revolut and Monzo and things like that, and see if that's compatible for your move. Consider online banking, because that will make access convenient. Also look into international banking. What are the alternatives to having a local bank account? And if you're going to have a local bank account, research those. What are they going to ask of you? What are they going to require in order to even consider giving you a bank account? Often when you move, things are chicken and egg. You need a home address before you can have this, or that before you can have that. So you want to be prepared for what they're going to ask of you. As we have explored through these different essential areas, mishaps or what ifs can arise, and if we're not prepared, we're going to need money pretty much always to get ourselves out of a situation. So I recommend having an emergency fund. This could really make a difference to you, and at least in terms of peace of mind. Hopefully you'd never need it, but having it there would give you that buffer, that safety net. Getting yourself ready in all these areas will have you feel ready enough. Of course, there may be specific things that you deem essential for your move, things that are personal to your situation. You might even want to have established your home before you move, or sort out schools for your children. There could be numerous other things that tick the essential list. But I wanted to address the kind of everyday common essential items that affect all of us in a move. In order to set you up readily for this, I've created an essential area checklist, a simple go-to document to support you getting yourself ready for your move and taking the steps to be ready through the items I've raised here. I think it will flag up for you other areas that you consider important, so that nothing gets missed out from your side ahead of your move. If you are listening, we have the link to the document in the show notes that accompany the podcast. So either way, you will be able to access the checklist if you would find it useful, which I'm sure you would. I want to thank you for joining me today, but overall, I want to wish you all the best with your planning, with working through your checklist, with seeing what's essential for you, and for avoiding any mishaps or what ifs because you took care of it in advance. I'm not limiting it to these 5, but I want you to have a good start and a sense of feeling ready for your move. So thank you for being with me today. Thank you.